Welcome to the March for Life in Charlotte. I am David Haynes. I'm the Director of Communication for the Diocese of Charlotte, and this is a very wet parking lot right across the street from the pastoral center of the Diocese, and the Right to Life March here in Charlotte is about to start. All I can say is right now the weather is better than it was 5 minutes ago when there was a virtual downpour out here, but we do expect pretty lousy conditions for a walk today, but that is not going to deter the marchers. As you can see behind me, there's a crowd of, I would say, 150 to 200 people, which actually is about the size of last year's march. Last year was the 40th anniversary of the Roe versus Wade Supreme Court decision, and there was a lot more awareness and media coverage of the march here in Charlotte as well as the march in Washington. The march in Washington will take place in about 2 weeks. That's always around the anniversary of the Roe v. Wade decision, which was January the 23rd, I think it is, or 22nd of 1973. Marches like this one in Charlotte kind of lead up to the big march in Washington. And many of the people who are marching here will be taking part in the March on Washington. If you'll pan over here, Mark.
Okay, last little bit of instruction, guys.
That's Tina Witt.
The police will probably get us through our first little hop, across down Carson and Tryon. So they're going to try to do that, but don't get used to it, okay? They'll help us there probably. Watch those lights. So we're going to go ahead and march on. All right, Viva Cristo Rey, people. Go ahead, brother, for Our Lady and our Lord. March on, Christian soldiers.
As you can see, the march is just now beginning. Tina Witt was basically giving some last-second instructions here. The people who are in the march have to observe all of the traffic laws, things like crossing the street and whatnot. This is a sidewalk parade, so none of the streets in uptown Charlotte will be blocked off. Turn around, turn yourself around, turn yourself around. You got it? We're going to walk alongside the marchers now, and what we're going to be doing is talking to people as we are on the march here.
Is this the first time you participate in the March for Life, sir?
No, this is, I don't know how many times I've done it. 8 times.
8 times. So this must be the 8th. Wow. And where do you go to church?
St. Patrick's.
St. Patrick's. All right, wonderful. What makes you come out here on this lovely day?
Well, it's a chance to witness to the brutality of abortion.
This is Patricia Guilfoyle. Patricia is the editor of the Catholic News Herald. She and I are walking along the route. Patricia, you had a story that you published online yesterday about a fairly significant development with regard to regulation of abortion clinics in North Carolina. Tell us about that.
Yes, they're in the process of rewriting the abortion clinic regulations for facilities to make them a little bit stricter, more like outpatient surgical centers. Right now, they're not very highly regulated at all. So the state law passed last year mandated stricter requirements. So they're in the process of just starting that writing process. And they've inquired with 6 stakeholders across the state in those review processes. One of those 6 stakeholders they've been working with at DHHS, the State Health Department, is the worst clinic violator in the state.
That's from the Latrobe Clinic here in Charlotte.
Yes, a preferred women's health center in Charlotte on Latrobe Drive has had more than 40 violations of those rules over the past 14 years.
So what you're saying is a clinic that has a lot of violations is overseeing the rewrite of the rules for how clinics should operate. Is that correct?
He's having input. The DHHS staff are overseeing the process, but yes, he's providing input. Their medical director, Dr. Stuart Schneider.
Did you get any kind of an explanation as to why a person with that sort of a background was essentially involved in this process?
No, the only response I received from the State Health Department, who's over the divisions heading over this review process, said was that they want to involve all stakeholders, but they only chose 6, and 4 out of those 6 are pro-abortion advocates.
Now, I know that the concern with the rewrite of these regs has to do with women's health, because when clinics go wrong, in addition to being very bad places for unborn children, they can be very dangerous for women, for the mothers. Is there anybody who's an advocate for women on this group?
I would say so, yes. They've involved the Board of Nursing and the North Carolina Medical Board as well, and OBGYNs and specialty physicians. So they are trying to look out for women's health. But the question I can't get answered is why involve, out of all the clinics in the state, why, and 2 of them were chosen, why choose the worst violator? There are other clinics in the state they could have sought input from.
So you didn't get answers to that. Were you able to talk to Dr. Stewart? I'm sorry, his last name was?
Schneider.
Were you able?
He's not returning my calls either.
Any of the other stakeholders who were on this, were you able to connect with them?
Not yet, no.
Well, I know that you're a pest and that you'll stay on this.
Well, we just want to make people aware of what's going on in the rulemaking process. It's important for people to be involved in the legislative process and not let this go on in a back room.
Patricia, thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's Patricia Guilfoyle. She's the editor of the Catholic News Herald. The Catholic News Herald has been really kind of in the forefront of coverage of this issue of how abortion clinics run, and in particular, the problems that they have experienced at the Latrobe Drive abortion clinic in Charlotte. I'm going to step out here so Mark can stop and just kind of show the crowd walking by. We're going to let the marchers just kind of march on before we try to talk to any of them. The sidewalk is a little bit narrow here. We are holding up traffic. Mark, you can pan to the left just a little bit to show how the traffic is backing up on South Tryon Street, as the police have been nice enough to allow us to cross the first street of Church and Tryon en masse. We're coming up to the intersection of Tryon and Moorhead. Mark is occupying the bicycle lane as he walks alongside the walkers here. Once we get closer into uptown, the sidewalk is much wider, and we'll be able to get it back up on the sidewalk. I believe that Mark does own a bicycle, so it's actually legal for him to be in the bicycle lane. Well, the rain is coming down again, so I'm going to get friendly with my good buddy Mark here. He smartly has an umbrella covering the iPad that we're broadcasting to you with. We saw this on the radar a couple of minutes ago. There's basically just been a series of clouds rolling through town since probably about 3 o'clock this morning, and it looks like it's actually going to continue through tomorrow. I wish the Supreme Court had come down with its decision at a better time of year, but I guess in a way it really kind of shows the intestinal fortitude of these people who are in the march, the fact that they are here on such an absolutely dreadful day. The police are letting traffic cross Moorhead Street again, and as you can see, the first wave of the marchers are continuing on up Tryon Street in Charlotte. This is the March for Life, the Diocese of Charlotte March for Life. We've been doing this every year for about, I think it's about 12 years now. It started off very small, and it has been growing some every year as the sin of abortion continues in this country. The resoluteness, the resolution of people, the Catholic Church and others, remain steadfast when it comes to this issue of life of the innocent unborn, and protecting that life. We are God's creation from the moment of conception to the moment of natural death. That is what the Catholic Church teaches, and that is what all these marchers believe. Well, the lights changed, and you can see that the marchers are starting to cross the street. Not sure how many waves of marchers we're going to get here. I can tell you for sure that we have 2 at this point. And what's going to happen is the marchers will go from here. This is the intersection of Moorhead and Tryon. They will go up to the square, which is the intersection of Tryon and Trade Street in Charlotte. And there will be some speakers there at the square. And then they'll go from there to the U.S. courthouse, the federal courthouse, and they'll recite some a rosary and a divine chaplet of mercy. Bishop Peter Jugas normally does attend the March for Life here in Charlotte, as well as the March for Life in Washington. However, Bishop Jugas is on retreat this week and is actually on his way back to Charlotte as we speak, and unfortunately cannot be here. Knowing Bishop Jugas as well as I do, I can tell you for sure that he is praying for the people who are participating in this march today. Well, the police have blocked off Moorhead Street here to let the second wave kind of continue through a red or a green light, depending on how you're oriented. So it looks like we're going to basically have a very large a contingent crossing the street. I guess just about everybody's going to get to cross the street on this particular one. Hey, this is Father John Eckert. Let's go ahead and turn it around.
Okay.
We're going to turn it around. Oh, my hand is so cold I can hardly. There I am. We're going to walk with Father John Eckert here.
I think we walked together last year.
We did. I'm sorry to interrupt your conversation there.
You're fine. You're fine. I'll catch up.
Father, you have come down from Tryon, North Carolina.
I have.
And what brings you this great distance other than the march? Why do you make the trip in such awful weather?
Just for the march. I actually have to head back tonight for something back at the parish at 6, but it's an important thing. We need to stop and recognize that, this is going on in the country. We need to stand up and raise awareness to, encourage folks towards the mercy of God. I mean, it's absolutely important and something that we all need to stop, take some time to point out the fact that life is absolutely sacred. And so, yeah, it's well worth the drive to be here, for the sake of the people of the Diocese of Charlotte, to just stand up and recognize the dignity of all human life.
Now, you have been, you were born after the Roe versus Wade decision came down, am I right? I'm not going to give away your age exactly.
It's okay. It was 9 years after.
So basically, you have grown up in this situation where we've had legal abortion in the United States. How did you form your conscience around this issue, having grown up where essentially you are in opposition to something that has been legal your whole life?
Wow, absolutely. I'm fortunate to have been born and raised Catholic. My parents are wonderful examples of people who also, hold sacred the dignity of all human life. And so it's just something it was never really much of a debate. It's something that just sort of goes without question that, that life begins at conception. And, there's just so much sadness and hurt in our country. And as dignity of all human life isn't respected, you can see the downfall. You can see the broken lives. You can see, how terrible it is when people just neglect for God to become one of us like that. I just can't understand how anyone for God to become one of us like that. I just can't understand how anyone wouldn't value that life. And the thing is, for the mothers too, for anybody who's anxious or worried or scared about a new life coming in, of course. I mean, you look at Mary and Joseph, you look at the difficulties of Christ coming into the world, and yet they listened to the angel who told them, do not be afraid. And that would be my message to anyone who's scared or anxious about a new life coming in the world, is that do not be afraid, to trust in that love of God, to trust in the fact that He's given us that human dignity is so important, and that there are people out there always ready and willing to help.
Father John Eckert is the pastor of St. John the Baptist in Tryon, North Carolina.